go with your gut feeling. As much as you need work, and if you need a project, if your gut tells you do not take on that client, do not take on that client. Follow your gut, because if you feel it's not worth it from the start, it's definitely going to become a nightmare at the end.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bespoke. My name is Christina Hogyu.
And I'm Sarah Zohar, lead designer and owner of Sarah Z Designs.
And today we're going to be having an exciting conversation about mentorship and why it's super important in the development of a designer and their career. So, mentorship, that's something we're very, very passionate about.
Yes, we are.
And that's kind of one of the main reasons why we started the podcast, just so people have something to refer back to, or they have that type of information that they might not learn in school, but they might learn in real life or through conversations with these mentors and people who have been doing what you do for a very long time. You have mentioned yourself there are a bunch of real life situations that maybe school did not prepare you for.
Definitely.
You want to get into some stories?
Sure.
That you might have?
I wish school would have a class just about experiences or anecdotal stories of different designers and what they experience in the field, but that's where we come in as mentors. There's a lot of things that school teaches, and it's great and it's necessary. How to design, how to put together a spec book, how to put final boards together to present to a client, creating budgets, but they do lack on the business principles of how to run a design firm from a business perspective, having the right contracts in place, having the right forms in place, teaching the students about what it is to make a client sign off on something so they don't run into a situation where they do it based on trust and then they are putting themselves at risk. And then, of course, things that happen in the field that nobody ever teaches you about, like measuring an elevator or, things on how to cope when something doesn't go the right way and how to deal with it, like we've spoken about in our previous podcast with Preston.
Yes, kind of like, when you go to med school, they kind of make you do an internship or you do practicals and you're kind of doing real life experience because there's only so much you can learn out of a book.
You actually need to take a scalpel and
you
cut
have to
through
actually
a person,
do it,
right?
Exactly. It's kind of the same thing. Interior designers are the new doctor.
100%. And it's not enough. There's a huge misconception between being a paper design to a realistic designer, and how to execute certain things. And I think that's kind of what the schools need to expand their learning on and just mentor those
students in that way so that they're prepared for these real life things and the stakes aren't as high because it's still a learning experience.
100%.
Speaking of those early days that you started, what is an example of a lesson that you had to learn the hard way?
So a couple of things. I had to learn really how to put a design service agreement together. My first one it had so many things that did not cover me as a designer, and I learned it the hard way. Secondly, on how to get proper measurements for elevators so I could get my furnishings into the unit and I didn't have to eat that expense. Different ways of sign-offs and protection, to know how to protect yourself as a designer and what you're up against when you're dealing with both on the client end and on the vendor end, and just learning the correct vendors that protect you and,
and learning how to manage those relationships.
Exactly.
Like the people who will protect you in the long term, because hiccups, mistakes are bound to happen. So it's like, how do you choose and discern who's right for your team. It's like that's not necessarily something you learn in the classroom, but you would learn via a mentor.
100%. And I see that the younger generation is all about emails and getting, but it's not about that at all. We're in a small industry. It's about creating
In relationship.
those relationships where you know that your vendors are going to advocate for you and come through if you do have an issue with a client, like we just recently did. And our vendors stepped up and came through for us. So it's about networking and forming those relationships and meeting people in person and really creating friendships. That's what it's about.
There's only so much you can learn and kind of connect with someone via an email or a text message.
Right.
Like those showroom visits, those lunch and learns, they're all super, super essential to not only creating those relationships, but maintaining those relationships.
And that's what I think we're good at, because I always push you guys beyond your boundaries, where I say, pick up the phone, call the vendor, speak to the client.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's uncomfortable, but
it's
it
essential.
pushes you. It's essential.
It's essential, and it really teaches you communication.
Right.
Because even like how we discussed in our previous episode, not even in just design, build relationships, but your relationships with clients, vendors, communication is
Key.
it's everything. And in kind of difficult moments where you're faced with those challenges, like a sectional that's not going to fit in the elevator, how important is it to have a mentor? Like who helped you out in those situations? How important was it for that person's help to get you to where you needed to be?
I mean, thank God I'm surrounded by family and that are in the industry. My brother saved my ass a few times. I don't know if I could say that. But yes, my first project, nobody told me. I had this wall unit. I couldn't even afford it. It was $11,000. I couldn't even get it through the elevator. I called him up. I'm like, I'm stuck. I'm at Ocean 4. What do I do? I can't afford to lose this. It was one of my first projects. I can't get it in. Nobody told me. He's like, wait right there. He knew the building engineer. He came, he paid the building. He was like, yeah, $450. We paid the building engineer. At the time, this was like 15 years ago. And they lined up the elevator roof to the floor and got the, I don't know if they do that anymore, but at that time they did it.
I'm not sure that's common practice. But
So we got it in. I don't know how they're getting it out, but
I'm not sure they're going to be able to.
But nobody teaches you that in school.
They don't. These are things you kind of learn as you go.
Go along, right.
Okay. Are there any particular mentors that come to mind that stand out to you, that kind of have guided you and informed your journey?
So my dad's definitely my mentor. He taught me one thing: integrity. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It's about delivering close to a perfect project with heart, because it's all what you put in it. And that's how he worked, and that's what created his business for him. He didn't care. For him, it wasn't about making millions. It was about happy clients and seeing their face. And I think I've inherited that from him. And he's always, any question I have, he loves to get involved. Definitely, I would say one of my professors, Mrs. Norma E., who taught me, who always, oversaw everything I designed. And in the beginning, you're a new designer, you're not sure of yourself. Can you check this? Can you check this? Does this kitchen work according to ergonomics? Does this work according to codes? And she did, and she was always open. And honestly, some of the vendors that were so open to us as student designers, that opened up their showrooms and gave us samples, and was so, because it was intimidating to walk into a place like Dakota when you're a designer out of school. Nobody wants to give you the time of day because they're busy with real clients. And those showroom managers are the ones we're loyal to, because they were always good to us. And that's what I remember. So
yeah, and so many of them are just so kind. And even with me, when I first started working with you guys, they're just so patient.
Right.
They're so open to explaining and just breaking things down to make them digestible, to kind of guide you and ease the process along.
It's true.
So we have to shout out the vendors, completely grateful to them. What is one of the greatest lessons that you have learned from a teacher in your time in design school?
So one of my greatest lessons, and it's the same professor, she said, go with your gut feeling. As
Hmm.
much as you need work, and if you need a project, if your gut tells you do not take on that client, do not take on that client.
Right.
Follow your gut, because if you feel it's not worth it from the start, it's definitely going to become a nightmare at the end.
Of
So
course.
don't do it.
Because,
And she was right.
and I feel like in the very, very beginning, that should be the easiest part. Like
Well, that's,
the conceptualizing part should be the fun part. So it's like if there are
but when you're starting out and you're hungry and you're a young designer, you
there's
want to take on everything.
of
And
course.
sometimes you don't realize that it's not worth it because it's that one nightmare of a client that could take away your passion or could put you over the
Right.
edge that could say, okay, this is not for me. And it shouldn't be that way.
Exactly, because you say it yourself, design is energy infused. It's something that's meant to come from the heart and come from a place of passion. So it's like if you are working with a client that kind of takes that joy and takes that like core reason for doing what you're doing away, it's like of course you're gonna feel like,
Everything
why
is
do I
going to
do
go wrong.
Yes. And things typically like they go wrong from time to time. I feel like if you're also not having a good time with the client,
Right.
it just
You're
amplifies it
married
times a
to
thousand.
them. Like
Exactly.
my sister makes gowns, couture gowns,
Hmm.
and she's in New York. And I told her, you have a big stressful part because you have to give them the gown, but you're
Of
married to
course.
them for maybe 2 weeks. I'm married to a client for a year for
Oh
the
yeah.
length of the project. So you really have to like your client.
Oh,
And they have to
1000%.
like
They have
you.
to
It
like you
works both
too.
ways.
It's a chemistry thing, really.
100%.
And they don't teach you relationship psychology in
No.
design school for sure.
We've been pretty good. Thank
Yeah,
God. I have
yeah.
to say, we've been very
Because
blessed.
we're
I've been
so
very
lucky.
blessed in my career.
Oh yeah, we're super lucky with the clients that we have. Like I feel like a lot of them are very internet as well.
Right.
So and it's like a big family kind of
Yes.
situation. It's really cool. How well on the topic of like teaching and mentorship, not only have you been mentored, you've been a mentor to a bunch of designers, you know,
Mhm.
at the very beginnings of their careers on. How would you describe your teaching style or your approach to mentorship?
So just kind of open up and not be scared to share.
Hmm.
Share everything that you've experienced, that I've experienced.
Hmm.
Open up resources.
Yeah.
You know what? If you give, you get back. That's my firm belief.
Right.
So when you do good, you get back good. And why not teach someone else that's going through the same thing? You know what? I always say
Hmm.
we have a group of designers that we create open tables with, and it's not about it's not about the competitiveness because
Right.
I might connect to a client and have a different, interior design view of something. And
Hmm.
my friend, who's another designer, will connect to another client. It's not about, you know, taking from one another. It's about
Right.
helping each other grow. And that's how
Right.
I look at it. So I think being transparent, opening, teaching them about what they could do wrong, how to fix it, how to execute a design in real-time construction versus paper design,
Yeah.
opening up about vendors and resources.
Hmm.
There's so much to go around, and I think
Yeah.
we need to give that
It's
flow of information.
Exactly. It's about making sure they're fully informed because it's like we talk about it all the time. The interior design career looks very idyllic
Right.
from the outside. People see the glitz and the glamour.
That's
And
true.
I'm sure a bunch of people go into interior design school thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be this big interior designer. I
Right.
get travel, do all these things. But they don't realize everything else that kind of goes on in the background, like yeah,
You
you
can't
can't,
be scared
of
to
course.
get your hands dirty. How
Oh,
many times when the
1000%.
clients are coming, I'm sweeping the floor, I'm cleaning, I'm
Oh yeah,
Windexing. It's
you're
that
in there.
it's part of the job and it is what it is. It's not,
Right.
you have to stay humble and grounded and know that we're talented and we have a gift for creativity, but at the same time, we are people and, we could do
Exactly.
anything that needs to get the job done.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it's getting to that final point where you're able to hand those keys to the client. It's like,
Right.
here's your home.
That's
And
it.
exactly.
That's it.
So it's like whatever role you have to take on as the lead designer, whether that's sketching things out and picking furniture, or like you said,
Right.
Windex and cleaning
A hundred
windows,
percent.
you get it done.
You get it done.
Has your teaching style been influenced by any mentors mentors that you have? Like, for example, your dad. I feel like you
Right.
teach us a lot about integrity, and you learned a lot about that from him. Are there any other examples?
So definitely my dad, my
Mm-hmm.
mom, they brought us up to be honest, and I think that goes a long way is because clients could see right through, and you
For
should be
sure.
honest. There's no reason not to be transparent, be open. If something goes wrong, relay it and just say, I'm taking responsibility. Also, I always say this, stay humble, be kind, be compassionate, and try to open the doors for other people,
Yeah.
because your
It's good
success is,
karma.
it's good karma. And I feel like your success also, when you're successful, it's great to help other people become successful.
When it comes to school and learning, what type of student are you, and how do you like to learn?
So I'm a great student. I love learning. I always used to have the best notes. I used to write
Love.
every word.
Yep.
I think my notes are still circulating in school, but no, I always love learning. I get
Mhm.
excited to learn new things, even when it comes
Right.
to design. I would say I'm more of a visual learner. I
Mm-hmm.
much rather see things in person, learn, travel through my travels versus just reading an email
Mm-hmm.
or an article. I do that too, but I'm more of a visual learner.
Yeah, you're a very in-person person, I've
Yes,
noticed, and I feel like those are the best, that's kind of the best way for me to learn as well, because it's one thing reading something,
right.
you can
It
comprehend
sticks
it.
with me better. It's first
Yeah.
memorization. So, yeah,
Yeah, memorization, it's just like, I don't know,
yeah,
it doesn't hit the same.
no.
But how do you think your learning style influences your teaching style?
So it's a big part,
Hmm.
honestly, because I think because I'm a visual learner and I see things in my mind, which I get often, and I get it, and David tells me that all the time. You see it in your brain and you get it, but you don't translate it like you see it
Hmm.
because I'm not, I try to teach. I don't have so much patience to kind of teach. You see the way I teach is I sketch everything
Right, it's very
and that
visual,
and
all
they're
of it.
like, Sarah, okay, you sketched it. It's great in your mind and it works and it's amazing, but give us a little more detail. And I'm like thinking, okay, why aren't you getting this? But it's really, I don't
Right.
translate my teaching because I think like David versus me, he takes his time and he always tells me, explain slow so they could understand quicker. I explain fast and then it takes like two or three takes because I'm not, I don't know, I'm learning to be a better teacher, but I just
I
see
feel,
things differently.
yeah, but I feel like teaching, that's something you really do learn how to do by
Yes,
doing it. You
yes.
know what I mean? And honestly, the way you teach has made me quicker in a way I've noticed. You know what I mean? And I've become more resourceful because
Oh,
it's
by
like,
saying, oh, you don't get
yeah,
it?
no, no, but it's like sometimes I'm like, you know what? Maybe there are enough details here. I need to figure it out. So
Right,
it's about, it kind of teaches, it's taught me, but it's like, read between the lines.
right.
Yeah, it's
Read
like,
between the lines and
exactly.
also
Be proactive.
be proactive and try to figure it out on your own.
Exactly. And I feel like when you try to figure things out on your own and you get it, that's another way it sticks with you better when
Right,
you're able to kind of like break it
right,
down. Also, it opens up the avenue to become more comfortable asking questions because maybe you showed it to us one way, you sketched it down. If we still have questions, we're comfortable to go up to you
right.
and be like, "Hey, can you explain this?" Again, and you do, and
And
it helps.
sometimes I think that's part of like also you guys are kind of like not resisting to come into my office and ask questions because you're like, oh, okay, maybe we shouldn't ask. But
Mhm.
I'm open
Oh
to
yeah,
all those
yeah. That's
questions,
why
you
I'm
know?
always running past your office. You always see me.
I'm like, Christina, what's up? Come
What's up?
on in.
I'm like, hey. But speaking of that, so would you say one of the biggest challenges for you would be kind of like translating what you're seeing in your head
It's
on
just that I
paper?
feel
Yeah,
like if I had more time and less fires to put out, I could
right.
sit and teach more. But when you have a million things
Going
that
on, it's
you need
hard.
to do, and this one's coming in, and that one's coming in, and this needs an answer now, and this one's on the phone, and what do we do with this, and what do we do with that? It's like, okay, when am I finding the time to sit and teach?
Yeah.
And now that we're putting in those meeting hours later in the day where the
Mhm.
day is shut down.
So helpful.
So
Yeah, it's
helpful.
like a
It's a
world of
huge
difference.
difference.
It's a
Yes.
world of different, and I
Yes.
feel like those meetings are always so productive too, because it's like outside of the 9 to 5, outside
100%.
of the 9 to 5 tasks that we have to get done, then we're able to sit down, really talk. Like the field meetings we've been
Right.
having, majorly
Even
successful.
design, I can't
Yeah,
design in the office with all the fires. I
I
have to
know.
leave or travel to design and come back with my
I
inspirations.
know. But that's the hard part about
I
the
know it is, but
administration
you
and the,
have,
you know,
and that's
it's
another
just
thing that designers have to know about, younger designers, which
mhm.
we always say, design is great. It's only about 10 to 15% of the industry. You have
Oh,
to
for
find
sure.
time to design, you have to focus in, and that's alone putting it together. But then it's about everything else, executing, putting out fires, teaching and translating the team and getting and collaborating with the GCs and how to execute the project, from
Mhm.
vision to execution.
Right. Would you say that it's kind of hard navigating, having, like pushing someone and like to grow while also trying to like be supportive? But it's like, well, a better example, like let's say someone is falling behind in like a certain areas. Obviously, the goal at the end of the day is to get them to reach benchmark.
Right.
But when, like you said, we're constantly putting out fires and like things have to be done properly, does it get kind of difficult, kind of balancing that role as like being a teacher and also being the CEO of a company that needs to make sure things are rolling?
Completely. It's sometimes it's so draining, and you're
For
like,
sure.
you expect, and that's what I'm always on the training for, is you expect the same level of detail and execution as you are, and
Hmm.
you're trying to translate it to the team. And being that there's so much detail, things fall through the cracks, but it's draining because then you
Of
have to put out
course.
fires, and and those fires cost money. And where do you find yourself? Like, how many times can you be forgiving, and how many times can you
Of
oversee, and how many
course.
times? So it becomes very draining, but you
It's
want to build
mhm,
an exceptional team.
of
And
course.
then,
It's
you
like you're
know,
teaching, but they're like really real stakes.
yes, 100%.
Yeah, which is why it's like maybe if in design school they had kind of these real life applicable situations, it would save a lot of headaches
And
down the
also,
line. Yeah.
like, I find that like younger designers, they just have these blinders on. They don't
Hmm.
want to learn and expand their vision. And that's a
Right.
big mistake because being in the
For sure.
industry, you constantly have to expand your vision. You constantly have to learn new resources, new ways of installations,
Yeah.
new fabrics, sustainability, smart appliances, performance fabrics, ASTM, everything.
Right.
Just open up your blinders and learn because there's nothing
Right.
greater.
And I feel like your teaching style kind of primes us to be able to lead in our own right one day, There's not because like there's no one that holds your hand when you're
Right.
the top, when you're at the top.
Well,
You know what I
David,
mean? Well,
sometimes,
David.
a lot of times, thank God.
Yeah, of
But
course. But
it's hard.
it's
It's
hard
a lot, and it's
for
it's
sure.
a lot of pressure dealing because the clients, like, oftentimes you guys say, "Oh, but we sent this to the client. They didn't respond. They responded to you." And sometimes they think for some reason or another that I'm the absolute word, and that they want to hear it from me versus someone like in your position or
Yes.
Victoria's position, and then you guys get frustrated. But we sent it, they didn't respond, and 100% I agree with you. But sometimes they just want to hear,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes I want to
So
hear it from you.
yeah,
It's hard. It's hard, definitely. What is it? Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
yes.
Yeah, for sure. And when it comes to giving tough feedback or having to give tough love in order to learn, like how do you typically like to like handle those situations? Because there are situations where you
Well,
definitely
you
have to
tell
give
me.
tough
No,
love.
I
I don't
definitely,
know.
it's not fun.
Of
It's
course.
not fun. It doesn't put me in a good mood. But I have to because sometimes it's the only way to get the point across
It's
to
essential.
really to make you guys realize the severity of the situation
Yeah.
and the outcome and the expense and also like the client frustration. So
Of course.
it's not fun, and I rather not deal with it, and I rather not have those mistakes. But it is what it is. It's part of the
Yeah.
industry.
And I feel like coddling in situations like that would only do like a disservice,
Yes,
really, because it's important to understand the severity of a lot of like those hiccups or
right,
those missteps or those mistakes so that you learn your lesson the first time and it
right.
doesn't happen again. I feel like it's completely essential. Do you have anyone who's a particular inspiration to you?
So I do look at some iconic designers. My biggest inspiration, I would say, is really my parents because of their resilience and what they went through to come to a new country and start and just build up a whole new life. And, in 2008, David and I were having financial difficulties. We were about to lose the house. And they mentored me to
Hmm.
go and start my career and fight for, my livelihood. And
Yeah.
we did with four little kids. I was at school from, 6 to 10 and working on the weekends, and we borrowed money and we paid our house home. And I wouldn't have been able to achieve that if it wasn't for them and their stories of their livelihood and what they went through,
And all the sacrifices they made
and
to
the
become
sacrifices
success.
that they made. And then I think that just reflected to my kids to work harder. And it was just something that, being from a stay-at-home mom to going and having a full-time career and being MIA
Hmm.
was like an
Yes.
eye-opener for them.
Yeah.
And I think that made them stronger and step up and work harder.
Right, yeah, I feel like that work ethic is something that we definitely see in you. Like what, yesterday you had like an 18-hour day. Absolutely unheard of.
Yes.
Which is crazy. And it's really important that maybe that mentors actually teach that work ethic to the younger designers as well. Because hey, maybe
100%.
you are on the schedule from 9 to 5, but if something needs to get done, it needs to get done.
And I think our team is pretty good like
Oh,
that.
for
When we need
sure.
to stay and we need to, we have deadlines. You guys are all willing to come in on
Oh
Sunday like we
yeah.
are this week
Oh yeah.
and stay later. So I think that that's great. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that definitely,
Yeah, and I would dare someone to be like, actually, Sarah, no.
it's mandatory.
So is there anyone whose teaching style that you think like, you draw from when you're teaching someone else? Like, would you say that you mirror any of your teachers, or do you have any teachers that you say remind you of yourself?
Yes, I think I picked up a lot from my professor, Miss Aishi was a great teacher,
Hmm.
and I think that she just was very verbal and
Hmm.
very visual, and that's how kind of I try to teach. I also try to inspire through, um, our surroundings and travels and biophilic
Yeah,
design.
speaking of biophilic design, you have a lecture coming up at Instituto
Yes.
Marangoni. Is this your first time hosting like a formal lecture?
Well, I've been on many panels, but yes, a formal lecture this is going to be my first time, and I'm
Yeah,
really excited about it.
I'm super excited too. I can't wait. Is this something you've always wanted to do?
Yes, I
Yeah.
definitely wanted to do that. I think that there's so much that we could share about nature-inspired design, energy-infused, biophilic design,
The wellness
health
benefits.
benefits,
Yep.
sustainability, and smart living. And I think there's so much that we can bring forward into the industry, and I think it's going to be wonderful, honestly.
Great. What do you hope the students' main takeaway will be from your presentation?
I think that I hope that their main takeaway is that the sky's the limit. They could take on what they're learning in design, health benefits, sustainability, biophilic design, and just take it to the next level and see what the
Right.
next generation brings on.
And I hope that they kind of take from that lesson, like when it comes to biophilic design, you don't have to be so rigid. It doesn't have to be just green and putting a plant there.
100%.
There are so many interesting ways that you've taught us that you can design with like that biophilic inspiration
And
that
fractal
in
designs
fractal
and
design, they're just
science
not
and
so
design.
obvious.
Right. It's not
Yeah, it's
obvious,
super
but
cool.
very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And outside of just the students you're going to be teaching at Marangoni, what lessons do you hope that any designer who has worked under you takes away after working at Sarah Z or being mentored by you?
So I hope that, younger designers understand that if a client is needy, it's not because they just want to be a pest. It's because they really don't understand. They hire a designer because they want us to hold their hand throughout the process. They want us to teach them and make them understand what's going to happen. And I feel like that they should learn from that and just really be transparent, be compassionate, be kind, and really put their passion, heart, and soul into the project. It really reflects well.
Okay, so one last question before we wrap. Do you have any words of gratitude to the mentors who kind of helped shape you?
Definitely. I think gratitude goes a long way. I have gratitude to my professor, to my parents, to my husband, to my brothers, and definitely to the vendors who still help us,
And support
create
us.
beautiful spaces. So thank you.
Thank you to everyone. And thank you guys for joining us today on today's episode of Bespoke.
Thank you.
And have a wonderful rest of your day.
Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.